Hey, Gaybros Blake.
Hey, Gabriel Jose.
Where are we today?
I am in San Francisco in my apartment. No dive bars for us this week.
Yeah, it's a bit of a change of pace, I could say, after meeting up multiple times in person. It's weird.
Yeah, the last 4 podcasts were in person. Good for us.
Were they? Yeah, I don't know if they were consecutive. But some of the last ones they were in person.
7 episodes, 4 of them were in person.
All right. That's a bit more of an ambiguous information. I appreciate it. And what did we watch for celebrating this happy non-reunion, antithesis of reunion?
This was quote unquote my pick. Except you came to me and said, I have tickets to Persona, so you're picking Persona. Which I'm happy to do because
I know
we endlessly tease each other, but I genuinely feel that Ingmar Bergman is one of the best filmmakers of all time, and Persona is among the best of his films. So I was happy to quote unquote pick it, and I was happy to show you your third Ingmar Bergman film.
Introducing me to the third of his movies. I don't know if
I didn't have you watch the first one. In our friendship, you have to admit that in 11 years, I've only asked you to watch 2 films, and one you clearly asked me.
This one, yeah, I asked you.
And I asked you to watch Winter's Light. I've never asked you to watch another one.
No, you did. It's that we also recorded about The Hour of the Wolf.
That's right. Yeah,
and I didn't pick those ones. Yeah, this is my third movie, but this is the first one
but
that
you
I
saw the Seventh Seal.
No, I was 5 minutes at the Seventh Seal.
Okay, so still 3 Bergman films, just not Seventh Seal.
And the 3 of them in the context of the podcast. Well, the first one is the last time that we discuss about a movie before recording.
Well, I think you owe me a Bergman film every 3.5 years of our friendship. You do.
I already paid you for
3.5 watching Celine Dion Goes Boating. Just for that.
I think that we are even at this point. Even for, I have watched more Bergman than you have watched of Celine Dion Goes Boating.
That's fair. And I did make you watch Bellatar. That's 7 Ingmar Bergman films.
That's true. In length, definitely. Cool. But as this was your pick, and you already said that you picked it because I was going to see it, I will give a tiny bit more. Is that I belong to the Jens Siskel Theater in Chicago. That is one of the best theaters out there, selection-wise. And they were doing a celebration, an appreciation, member appreciation night. And they gave the choice to the members about what movie they wanted to play. And they only gave 5 options, I think. One of them that it was not selected, it was Singing in the Rain. But I voted for the 2 winners, that it was Persona and In the Mood for Love. And that's the reason what it says, now I feel a bit forced that I should be watching Persona. And if I'm going to be watching, I'm going to be getting the most malice that I can of a Bergman movie. And that was we need to record about this. I need to leave proof that I watch a Bergman movie. So when I say I don't appreciate Bergman that much, there is proof of why.
That's fair. I mean, you've seen 1 out of 20 of his films, so...
I watched 3 out of his 20.
He's made 75 films, man.
Okay, so 3 out of 70, whatever. Cool. So he made even more movies than Fassbinder?
He was pretty prolific, and so when I was going through my major Bergman phase, there were only 25 available on DVD. And so recently, and that was 15 years ago. Oh shit. Yeah, 15 years ago. So recently in the Criterion sale, I got the Ingmar Bergman box set, which now has, I think, is it 38 or 40 of his films? But you still can't watch all of them. And he did a lot of stuff for TV that you just can't do.
Oh, on top of the 70-something movies?
Yeah, man. He just directed.
Non-stop, clearly. Yeah. 71 director titles, but I assume that many of them are TV movies. And something that I was checking with my boyfriend is that he also directed The Magic Flute, he did an opera like live, and I think that is recorded by the BBC, like the Royal whatever.
Is it? I would double check that. I think it's probably the Danish whatever it is, because he only directed one film not in Denmark, and it was The Serpent's Egg with David Carradine before he choked himself to death.
Oh, David Carradine, not yeah.
No, not Ingmar Bergman.
Yeah, I don't know.
Also, the Magic Flute, to give you an example, which I've seen because I'm a fan, that was a made-for-TV movie, but it's so good. It's like, put it in America and everyone's like, it's so good. This is so much better than Lost.
I think that, okay, I don't think that's, like, how do you say, like, mothered. It was aiming for the same kind of resonance with the audience as Lost, but sure.
Yeah.
Or they were looking for the same elements.
There's also extreme complexities in what he directed, not to go off on a tangent, but like Fanny and Alexander was a TV show. It was an 8-part miniseries or 6-part miniseries. But he wanted it to be entered into American awards. So they created a film that's separate, that's like 2 hours long compared to 8 hours long. So it's like, now wait, did he make an entire miniseries and a movie? Or like, how do you count those, right?
So he actually, but wait a second, was it like similar to Twin Peaks that that there is like a retelling of the pilot where it actually turns into a 90-minute movie?
No, this
closes the story.
Entire arc of the full 8 hours and reduced it to just, I think, 2 hours, like 2-hour movies.
And did they reshoot? Did they with edits?
No. They just took the stuff shot for TV and crunched it down. Probably cut out a bunch of sex stuff because Americans are weird about that. Like they did with Persona, by the way.
There was a lot of sex stuff?
They took it out. I'm sure you watched the American and UK version. So like in the opening credits, in the original version, there's you see many beautiful black and white stills. One of the stills is a full erect penis.
Oh yeah, no, that's there.
You saw that?
Yeah. So
then also they took out, like, for the American version, and I don't know which version I saw today, but not Elizabeth, Alma, in Alma's monologue about, well, I don't know if we want to go into the plot synopsis.
There is a monologue, yeah.
But apparently it was way more graphic than they put the subtitles in for, so they kept, like, the audio.
Oh, but you don't know.
Like a little softer.
Okay, that's funny. Maybe I should summarize this.
Yeah, please.
As this was your pick. Okay.
Yes.
So let me just bring it back, the NDB page. But basically, the story is very minimalistic. I mean, it's like 5 actors, but the story is actually focused on 2 people. It's like one of them is an actress that suddenly had like a breakdown and stopped talking from a mental and physical health. She's absolutely fine, but she's put in a hospital because she doesn't talk, she doesn't have any kind of motivation for doing anything. And also it follows Alma, that she's a nurse, like a 25-year-old engaged nurse that they call sister, and we were wondering about, like, is she a nun? Or supposed to be a nun?
I think in that time they mentioned that she's a nun, but I think you had to be a nun to be a nurse, or there was something weird. I mean, the whole thing is just supposed to be the virgin and the whore, right? So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But yeah, they kick it off, albeit she doesn't talk like the Elizabeth, the actress. And then, like, the director or the doctor of the hospital we're there in, is that she has the brilliant idea about, like, hey, look, if you're absolutely fine, health and mental wise, why don't you go to my beautiful house by the beach? And why doesn't the nurse go with you? And then just spend time until you get better there, because you are such a close friend now, even if you cannot talk with each other. There are a couple of scenes where we see, like, Alma talking with Elizabeth, like playing the radio for her, like when there is a play, and she doesn't have like too much reactions, except on that scene that I think that it may be like the most iconic one, when she's watching TV by herself in the room and she sees like a news report about the Vietnam War, and she starts like just
self-humiliation. Yeah.
yeah, she starts like getting like really terrified, and she goes, I love that take when she's in a corner of the room and the TV is on the other side, like completely as apart as possible. But yeah, when they're in the house by the beach, the conversation turns like way more friendly. It's like Alma starts like confiding in Elizabeth, until one day, as Elizabeth recoups like some of her strength, but she doesn't still talk, she starts sending letters to people. And she sends one letter to the doctor where she basically says that is like, oh, this poor weird nurse that is just oversharing with me all of her stupid life. I mean, the
letter has a very different tone. I don't think it's okay, the letter. It was not a nice thing to do, but she's like, oh, Alma's so sweet to me. Sometimes she gets drunk and cries and tells me about her sins.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's about her sins, but she looks down on her.
Oh, yeah.
About like who she is, you know, like a simpleton, you know, kind of perspective.
Not a famous actress.
Exactly, you know, and it's true that at the beginning Alma has an adoration for her, about like, oh my god, a famous actress taking an interest in me. Of course, I need to share about my poor little life with her. But Alma, as she's actually sending the letters, she reads this letter, and that actually like just throws a wrench into the relationship. Albeit, Elizabeth hasn't said basically anything.
Yeah, it's interesting when you say that Alma confides in Elizabeth, and they do seem to have a good relationship based on smiles, but basically just it's Alma projecting whatever the fuck is inside her and talking nonstop to this completely new person.
Yeah. There is a weird scene that I think that it was like Alma gets super drunk, and then Elizabeth speaks up and she tells her, like, why don't you go to bed? Like a very whispery voice, and then we see her like as she goes to bed, and then Elizabeth like so sad in the middle of the night, and then Alma is not sure. Is like, oh, did this happen? Did this not? But it doesn't matter because he cannot confirm anything with her. But after like this letter incident, like the relationship starts like falling apart, and she starts like distrusting her, and then basically rejecting her later. The story becomes like weirder and weirder to Lynchian spots that I don't know exactly how to define all of these. That is like we are like being left to interpretation. Is like, are they the same people or not? Oh, another something interesting thing is like Elizabeth, she has a son that we discover later. Yeah, no, Elizabeth has a song. We discover later that.
Sorry, I'm having a hard time keeping Elizabeth, like the two names. I know the characters are very fully formed in my mind, but it's the names. That's why I had.
The actress has a song, and we discover like towards like the end. I'm sorry, this is like a 60-year-old movie. We discover towards the end that probably she has some resentment about the song, that she didn't really want him, but she had it out of for proving a point that she can be a mother. So
yeah, it's interesting. The way information is revealed is super interesting because at first we only learn about Alma and what Alma knows about Elizabeth. But then, like, at this point you're talking about that evening, their weird dreams, and it seems like they're merging as one, and it's like a Buñuel film. What, like, the discreet charm of the bourgeoisie, what is that called? When it's just like, oh, nothing is
real
like
here.
Clear? What's real? What's reality?
Yeah. It is just absurd. It's a bit more, it's not even like magic realism, it's a bit more about like, what the fuck am I watching? It's like just completely absurd. You know, surreal.
It's surreal, psychological horror, I think is how I would describe this.
Just the funny thing is that when I look about Persona, the first question that I see on Google on the search result is like, is it a horror movie? And when I was watching it, I do this no horror, but we have seen similar stories as psychological thrillers.
Yeah, I mean, this reminded me about the more intellectual, I hate using that word, but what is that very mediocre director that made Birds?
No, motherfucker. I was thinking the other day about like, we have never watched anything by Hitchcock.
No, we watched the film, the one that's filmed here. Vertigo. Yeah, we watched. I don't know if we recorded about it, but that's definitely one of our history because we talked about all the places. We
We did.
But if you want to watch more Hitchcock, I'd love to tear those movies apart with you on a podcast. But my point is that that's sort of like the 39 Steps, where it's just kind of this tense psychological. What's gonna happen? Oh wait, am I confusing that with Strangers on a Train? It may be Strangers on a Train. Yeah. Where there's just this tension and you're not sure who's the bad guy and what the fuck is going on, and it's like knowing what's going on
is more direct. Yeah. It's more direct, is that this is not direct. It's like this, when the movie was over, it's like, I just look at my words, like, so, they the same person? So
because towards the end, Elizabeth's husband actually shows up.
Yeah.
And
that's so weird.
Like, Elizabeth, why? I just want to be with you. And she's like, no, I'm not your wife. He's like, your son misses you. I'm not your wife. Okay, let's have sex.
He's like, okay, I'm your wife. Oh my God, I miss you so much.
But in fairness, Elizabeth, the real Elizabeth, appears and helps Alma seduce the husband. Yeah, and the husband never recognizes that Elizabeth is up there, or that there are two people there in general. So it starts to get very ambiguous towards the end.
Yeah. I think that it's not. I don't think that Bergman was. That he didn't think that he was constrained by trying to make sense out of his movies. It was a bit more, it's like, hey, I have like this artistic vision, and it's like, if people get it, amazing. If they don't, it's fine. That's the reason why I think that Lynch is a bit like that. They can do Inland Empire, that I felt is like, this is not that different. I mean, it's different, a lot of difference, but also, if they start like with very weird imagery until the real story starts, and then the real story gets to a point that it just goes off the rails, and it's a bit more like, look, just take whatever you want from here.
I do want to call out that while the middle 9/10 of the film are more or less a straightforward narrative, it does get confusing ambiguous at the end. But the very opening scene and the very closing scene is so absurd and weird, like
with the kid in front of the screen.
Yeah, so we see a series of, in the opening credits, we see a series of like extremely beautifully framed black and white shots. Like we see a tarantula, and we see a boy that's either sleeping in a morgue or a hospital. Yeah,
an old couple.
Yeah. And also super fucking cool credits. Holy shit, those opening credits I thought were so beautiful. And then the closing scene where the women at the cottage by the sea, yes, we're like, are these the same person? But that's as metaphysical as it gets. Yeah. But then it ends with like, all of a sudden you see there was a camera crew filming the cottage as one of them leaves. No, like Alma leaves and leaves Elizabeth there, and then it shows that Elizabeth is on an actual TV set, and it shows all the people around her filming her, and it shows her face on the screen.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, this film is very famous for the two, like the opening and the closing, which are so insane. And you're like, what is going on?
Wait a second. I mean, I'm going to be just keep talking, because it's like right now I'm opening on HBO Max, because I assumed that they wouldn't edit that. I honestly don't remember. So I watched it on HBO Max as well today, and that version, and again, I'm not clear which version I saw. We know there are a couple floating around, but I saw whichever one is on HBO Max. Hopefully it's the uncensored one, and we actually have the Criterion Collection to thank for. So the thing is like, let me just, I don't know if you're going to be able, because this is going to be like even weirder. Like how she's walking away, and it's like, that's the actress, like going back to the actress for a second. And I thought that the camera crew.
Is this the beginning or the end?
This is the end.
Oh, look, look at that.
Yeah. But it's like, what I thought is that camera crew. Yeah. And there is like a woman like laying down, and I thought that it was more about Elizabeth, about like, hey, we're going to be like getting a glimpse about like how Elizabeth was an actress at this point.
As I understand it, and the other way I've seen people describe the synopsis. It's the camera roll. You see all of a sudden that this was a filmed event and that it was either acting or playing a role, and we don't know.
So one thing, let's see if I can. Yeah, you see there how it does like the zoom? Like there is like a woman like laying down in bed. It's like,
that's Elizabeth, right?
That's Elizabeth. Yeah, that's Elizabeth in bed. What I thought is like, hey, at this point, is like Alma is just one more character that Elizabeth just played. But it actually just like transformed into her. Is like she's like just like, okay, this is my persona now. Because for me, and now we're going to be like going into interpretations, but I honestly think that it's like, dude, this could be anything. Is that, hey, I think that this is a bit more about like the fakeness of actors, like putting like these personas, and how like this Elizabeth, she actually has like this breakdown when she realizes about like, I'm nothing, I'm just like a sequence of masks that I put in front of my face. And when she goes to the hospital, she even creates like another persona that is taking care for her. She projects like, she embeds like one more person that uses to reflect it, to hold the mirror to herself about like how empty you are. That's the reason why I talk about like the song, about like, let me tell you about your song.
Can I read you a sentence from the Wikipedia page? Because I want to just know if you agree with it or not.
Sure.
The film's exploration of duality, insanity, and personal identity has been interpreted as reflecting the Jungian theory of persona, which is a specific Jungian theory, and dealing with issues related to filmmaking, vampirism, homosexuality, motherhood, abortion, and other subjects.
Yeah, all of that is there.
I didn't pick up on vampirism, but
dude, I think that is Elizabeth, the one that starts like just like sucking the blood from Alma.
Yeah, but just like one visual nod, like doesn't being like, oh, Bergman was interested in exploring vampires.
Well, it's not. I think that there is no vampirism from an Anne Rice or an Alan Ball TV show, but more from the perspective of actually just living, sucking the energy of others.
You picked like the two most absurd examples of vampires.
I know. I went for that. You know.
What about Only Lovers Left Alive?
I don't know if that would be better. Let's just leave it there. But honestly, just taking a step back, I'm leaving just the summary on the side, but I like it. I understand that it's a bold move. It's a fuck you move. I don't care about what you want to get out of this movie. I'm going to be like just talking about my unfiltered artistic vision. And a part of me wonders, is like, what would it be like just being in a movie set like this, about more like nothing makes truly sense, and it does at the same time, is that you don't care about making sense.
All of Ingmar Bergman's kind of like mythos super interesting, because he had like you've seen a couple of his films. He makes very, very small in scope films. The vast majority of the camera work is close-ups of faces. And he always used like the same 5-6 actors. They were like this, they just rotated parts, and they were all fucking for like 40 years and like working through, I'm sure, like all this weird shit happening in this incestuous little group. They're like, let's write persona.
No, that's I agree with you, because at the end it's a bit. I honestly think, as you were saying, like the Virgin and the Whore, I was thinking about like there is got a bit of a criticism about the how did you say, acting as a profession, about like how fake and how empty it actually is, or it can come across. I mean, there is a bit of that. I don't think that this movie is
open to any interpretation, and you obviously have evidence for this 100%. I'm not going to say you're wrong. I don't know that I can say definitively what this is about for me. Besides, there was a very interesting contrast in the way they dealt with motherhood, and whether they accepted or rejected it, and the results of those decisions, and how they felt about those decisions. And that I was like, Jesus, like those were the choices women had in the 60s: an illegal abortion, or like having the kid you couldn't self-abort. And how do you deal with that? That I found interesting. I love this movie. I didn't just like it. I think this is an excellent film.
I fell asleep for a second.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, you fell asleep in Clueless, man.
Dude, I would say is that I think that there's like infinite more merit on this movie compared to Clueless.
Yeah.
Regardless if it's a retelling of a James Joyce novel. No, it's Emma, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, Emma. It's James Joyce, no? Or not?
No, Emma's a Bronte, right?
Jane Austen.
Jane
Not
Austen.
James Joyce.
God damn it.
Sorry.
We just exposed ourselves. We know a lot about movies.
Okay, yeah.
So you appreciated the effort, I feel like,
yeah.
is an accurate statement.
Yeah. But the same thing as with The Art of the Wolf, you know, it's like I just feel Bergman is not for me. I'm sorry, I'm just like a mere, I don't know, like popcorn eater moviegoer. I like that movies have some kind of message, but I also like the authors to just think about how that message is going to be consumed on the other side. And just having more concise ideas.
I do think that it's like when I watch anime or Miyazaki, like you have to learn the visual language, the literal words, vocabulary. Like you have to, it's a learned, what is that phrase?
A learner skill? Or
No,
acquired
like-
taste?
Acquired taste, thank you.
Dude, kids can watch Miyazaki movies, you know, Ghibli studio movies. It's like yesterday, even like the director was saying, it's like, hey, we're going to have like early tickets for watching like the new Miyazaki movie, and it was like just almost screaming about like it was worthy coming here for just knowing that.
Yeah, I just meant for me, like for Asian cinema, I really have to kind of like adjust to it before I can, I think, feel what the filmmakers want me to feel or understand what the filmmakers want me to stand. Like I can't just sit down and watch, well, I can't name any of them. But
Spring, summer.
all I'm saying is that once you, that's not anime.
Oh, you think about only anime? Okay. That's fair.
I'm just trying to say that I agree that there's a very specific style to Bergman and it's not easily digestible. And if you've given it 4 tries and you're like, okay, I appreciate this guy, but it's just not the sort of film I like to watch, like I'm down. I watched enough Tarkovsky films to be like, this guy isn't for me. I appreciate him, but I'm not going to watch any of his movies when I choose to sit down and watch a movie.
Sorry, you appreciate which one?
I appreciate many of his movies. So Yvonne's Childhood is fucking brilliant, and it's his only 90-minute film, and it's autobiographical and in black and white, and about him in a war as a child. You should check it out. Amazing.
Yeah, and I think that may be the case. It's like I understand. Maybe if I watched like a couple of more of them, it would click. But honestly, I'm at a point that is that I appreciate for effort. Is that this is I can see like why people like just have him in such a high pedestal, but for me it's like an uphill thing.
So I think I only have one more Ingmar Bergman film, and I'm not going to do it soon, but I do want you to watch one more of his, which I'm sure you'll feel exactly the same about, but I do want you to watch it because right after Magnolia, this was my favorite film for a couple of years.
At the same time as Magnolia, I don't know if I trust.
No. It dethroned Magnolia. I was like, what? There's a better movie than Magnolia.
I like that you went from a PTA from Paul Thomas Anderson to actually Bergman. It's like there was no like middle ground. It's like these are like the biggest outsiders in this movie.
Obscure Bergman.
Oh my God.
I'm sure I was just a pretentious douche. In fact, one of the reasons I want to rewatch it is to be like, did I really like that movie?
I mean, I'm not close to just watch more Bergman because I think that what I was thinking is like, dude, it's pretty bold, like the stuff that he did. Is like we don't have even like Lynch that I think that is half of a middle finger to, hey, I care about telling what I want to say. I don't care too much about like how you are going to be like processing this, you know. He doesn't try to get
it's
too
a
much.
filmmaker that wants to ask questions, not give any answers ever.
Yeah. It's a bit more about like, hey, look, if you get it, great. If you don't, that's fine. But it's like I'm more concerned about like just putting my voice out there than more than actually thinking on the other side of who is on, like watching this. For me, Lynch, I feel like I click a bit with it. I still don't click with Bergman, but I still feel like he's bold, like taking the medium in this kind of way and because there are other people that they can take the medium in this way and they don't have anything to say, but I think that Bergman has a lot to say.
So would you say now that you do have an appreciation for him as a filmmaker?
I have a respect. An appreciation is a different
I'm
thing.
taking that as a moral win in our friendship.
Sure, if you want to take it, it's fine. There is like way more when he doesn't. The funny thing is that I think that the Seventh Seal is worse from the perspective that he tried to put more budget and more resources into it.
It's very clear when he was given more money, he made shit. So I know about The Serpent's Egg because he was like exiled from Denmark and Hollywood was desperate for him to make a Hollywood film. So they threw a shit ton of money at him, gave him this huge, like there were sets and like costumes and he does his best work when there's like 3-4 characters and he just shows their faces. That's it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that this is a director that less is more.
Yeah. Oh, now I want to make you watch Scenes from a Marriage. Scenes from a Marriage is so incredible because it's like you see literally scenes from like the beginning of a marriage, the middle of a marriage, the end of the marriage, after the marriage, they moved on to new people. But what's interesting is that like 40 years later, and I think this was his very last film, he made a film called Saraband, and it was an update on these same two characters, but like 40 years later with the same actors discussing their marriage from 40 years ago.
Oh God.
And I was like, oh, so good. Anyway, Persona.
Oh, you really like
I really do, and I'm not going to bore you. I'm just happy you walked away from Persona, not like you walked away from the Seventh Seal, the 5 minutes of the Seventh Seal.
I would still say that I like Winter's Light a bit more. But
I do too. I think Winter's Light is one of his best.
Yeah, I think that is like more palatable, a bit tiny, more direct in what he's trying to say, but also, as I was telling my boyfriend, is that Bergman really likes to put characters in a way of, I'm going to fuck you up. I'm going to be like just putting you in a point that is like, or you are like breaking apart, or it's like everything that defines you, like is just peel away for just showing you as nothing. Then in that sense, I think that is a bit like Haneke.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I know we say this all the time, but I was like, he's like a Haneke without the, hey, this is gonna be existential pain for you, not like pure disgusting gore.
Well, but the thing is that Haneke just keeps it grounded. It's like he knows that it's like you want to horrify. He has like a vision for the audience. Bergman doesn't have a vision for the audience. Basically, I don't think that he cares if his films will be successful.
These are the films he wants to watch. He's like, I'm gonna make these.
Correct. It's more like when we do this podcast, is that do we care about the audience? Yeah, probably we care about ourselves.
We do a lot.
Don't run away, audience. No, but I think that we care more about like, hey, we like what we're doing, but we don't tend to do like much of thinking about like, hey, should we run? Should we actually make it like more palatable? It's like, no.
This is the podcast we would want to listen to.
Would you say that we are the Bergman of podcasts?
Not while we're recording, but later.
Okay, should we go for the questions?
Yes.
Would you watch it again?
Yes.
Okay. My answer is no. It was hard to watch.
Oh, really? You've never watched it again? Sorry, I was gonna clarify.
It was like hard. It was like a bit of an uphill thing, and maybe it was because of the time when I watched it after working a very, very stressful week. But it was more of a dude. I'm watching this, and I could have been watching In the Mood for Love in the biggest screen.
I respected that statement until the last half.
What I mean is like In the Mood for Love is a way easier to digest movie, and this requires, is that it's a bit of work. It's a bit of you have to be paying attention. There is like a lot of that, as you were saying, it's like a lot of close up, a lot of there is a smile, there is a nudge, but also there is a lot of dialogue that you are not completely sure if it matters or not.
And also, Liv Ullmann taking a role with one line, but like being in every scene in the film. I was like, good for you. Good for you.
Well, she has like what, three sentences?
Yeah, but I mean, to be on screen for what, 75 of 90 minutes and carrying the movie without speaking, that's impressive.
Well, I think that is more
Not carrying the movie, yeah.
Yeah. B.B. Anderson. Yeah. B.B. Anderson is the wife. No, it's not the wife in The Hour of the Wolf.
In which one?
In The Hour of the Wolf?
I can't remember, but Liv Ullmann is definitely the wife that's afraid of a nuclear holocaust in Winter's Tale.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Huh, okay. That seems always so familiar. They look familiar. Would you recommend it? Would you recommend Persona?
That's a tough one because I don't... Of all the people I know in real life, you and my brother-in-law are the only ones that would appreciate it. I would recommend this because I think it's an important piece of cinema, but I don't know anyone that would like this, so no.
No, okay. I don't regret watching it, don't get me wrong.
Oh no, I know, but it's like, I think casually in a bar, I'm not going to be like, hey stud, have you seen Persona?
Is that your new pickup line?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying at the Eagle.
You know who you remind me of? Like the biggest masterpiece by Bergman, Persona. Have you watched it? I don't think that there is any way. I cannot fathom any conversation where I would actually bring up Persona.
I mean, you would complain about Persona to me in person if you wanted to annoy me. That's probably the only time you're going to talk about.
But it's not a recommendation, you know.
Yeah, that's
but also, I don't think that I would detract anyone from watching it. If someone tells me, it's like, hey, you know, I saw this list that it has like the 100 best movies of all time and it has Persona, would you recommend it? Probably under those very specific circumstances, and depending on the person, I could say, like, no, let's go for it. It's experience.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at that list and it's more like an IMDb list where they're like, Green Mile is number one, Persona is number two, I would recommend Persona. I'm sorry, those IMDb lists of 100 best whatever are batshit insane.
Yeah, they make no sense. Would you remember Persona?
The big stuff, yeah. I mean, there's not much to it. It's about two women or one woman and just different halves of them. That, I mean, yes, it's not hard to remember, but specifics, no, I didn't remember like the glass that she left out for Elizabeth to step on, like those little things, no.
Yeah. So, are you going with yes or no?
Yes, I'm gonna go with yes.
How many times did you watch it?
This was probably only I'd say the third, maybe the fourth.
Gotcha. Okay. I will go with yes from the general premise of they are like basically two women, and you're not completely sure they're the same one or not, and one of them doesn't talk. There may be no summary.
That's a pretty solid synopsis. So.
Is there anything artistic about it?
Yeah, so Nyqvist, I'm not going to remember his name, but Ingmar Bergman worked with the same cinematographer on everything, and their vision together creates some of the most stunning images on screen that I've seen in a long time. Like, honestly, it's Antonioni good in La Ventura. Like, you look on the screen and you're like, look how this is fucking framed. It's incredible.
The framing, I agree with that, but it's like, dude, La Ventura, I don't agree that it's a 10. You know, it's a 10 for you, that's great. But from a cinematography perspective, it has like some really cool stuff. It's like he was like, Antonioni had the feeling that he understood, or the cinematographer or whatever, is that they understood how to push like the medium for just telling a lot of stuff just with the framing.
I don't disagree with you. I just think they're at least peers, if not Ingmar Bergman is better.
I could say the artistic part for me is like having such a limited like resources at your disposal, of just having like such a limited budget for doing a movie. What he can pull from it, you know, it's pretty impressive. I mean, some of the takes, some of the framing, as you were saying, I think that is great. Other stuff, I feel like it's a bit, I don't know, like the scene that I was showing you when she's walking away and you see like that figure, like wooden figure on top of it, that I feel like, there is like so much heavy bullshit here, like seven seal level.
There's heavy shit. I wouldn't call it bullshit, but that's where we differ in our opinions, which is where we move on to the next question.
Sure.
I get the last word. Next.
Okay, whatever. Is it a timeless piece?
100%. I mean, the experience people had in 1966 is, I would argue, almost exactly
confusing. That's confusing because I can assure you that it's like in the Moon for Love would have been the first one, people will have clapped at the end, and I think that at the end of this one there were like rumors about like, is that it? And there was like
while people
there was like there was a clap. I think that people were wondering like, is someone really clapping right now? Is this happening?
Woo!
I honestly would have, if I had like a time machine, I would have loved to be in 1966 and just being on that room. Like the first time that this was like played in New York in a small cinema in Days Village. And just thinking about
it only played for 30 days in New York in its first release. And it lost money in Sweden.
How can you lose money with that?
But if you'll allow me to share a little piece of trivia, so when you see like this film has been made with funds from the Swedish Film Institute or the British Film Institute or whatever. So I was reading the Wikipedia page. They said in the initial run in Sweden, the film lost money, which made it eligible for subsidies from the Swedish Film Institute. And I had no idea that those institutes had agreements where they're like, look, don't worry if you take a loss, just put it in theaters, and if you can't make your money back, we'll give you the money. And I was like, what a fucking cool thing.
That's such a bizarre thing. I mean, it opens the door for just like pull any garbage out there, any steaming pile of garbage, and it's like, we'll give you money back.
Well, I think they offer it to certain directors, and Ingmar Bergman was a safe bet. He did make The Serpent's Egg, so.
But it was not by Denmark. Denmark was not associated with that. But yeah, I agree that it's a timeless piece. Is that the story, or at least what I took away from it, I had a feeling that it's like a very kind of, you can be in old Greece, to right now or in the future, and it's a bit of a prostitution of the soul through playing like different characters, like how your psyche can fall apart.
Yeah.
Would you turn this into a TV show?
100% yes. I've seen what Ingmar Bergman can do with TV shows. I would value the opportunity to spend more time in any of the worlds Ingmar Bergman creates, except The Serpent's Egg.
Now I started to get curious in a bad way about The Serpent's Egg. I'm going to go with no, but just because it felt like work being 90 minutes in this world, I don't think that I could actually stand up like 2 hours more of this.
In a perfect world, I could get you to watch Fanny and Alexander.
Dude, I'm already hating you for just like even bringing it up 8 hours. Could this have been a short?
I don't think so. I think the heft, the weight of whatever interpretation you get comes from sitting with these characters for 90 minutes. So no.
I'm going to go with yes. It can be like a 50-minute one, it's like maybe not 30 minutes, but there are like some padding parts that I just feel that you can remove it. Like when they are like just talking about the song, when Alma is talking about the song, about Elizabeth's song, and they repeat the same scene from the other angle, I just feel like, I get it. It's a cool resource that you're using here, but can we just skip this?
That's fair.
Yeah. Do you think that this movie could have been better?
Absolutely. I would never say yes about any Ingmar Bergman film, except this one.
Okay. I'm going to go with no from the perspective that it's such a not really random, but open to interpretation. That is, I don't know exactly what they want me to take away from it. So, and I think that that's the magic of his films.
I agree, and I think most of the time when we say yes to this question, it's because we feel the filmmakers didn't achieve what they wanted to, and I think in this situation, it's
We don't know.
what they wanted. So it succeeded. I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, as there is no like a clear indication about like, hey, this is what Bergman was going for. I don't dare to say it's like, hey, Bergman should have done like something different. The script should have been more focused because no, I think that they were a collection. There was like a stream of consciousness that it went into this movie, and maybe it captured or maybe it didn't what he really wanted to say. But who am I?
I guess you'll just have to watch it again. I'm sure
No,
you'll
we
pick up
won't.
new things every time.
No, I'm good. But I actually was wondering if this is like one of these like, hey, the next time that you rewatch it, you are going to have like a slightly different interpretation of it.
I'll give
And I
it a
think
try
that is-
and let you know.
You will?
I'll give it a try and let you know.
Okay, just go. I just alright, so we score.
Yes.
So this was your pick. I'm a bit torn. I'm going to be like cheating for a second. Usually we go with like we're just checking what were like the previous scores for these. What was the hour of the wall? I'm going to go with a 7 for this one.
I'm gonna go with a 9. I think this is great cinema for me, and I would argue it's important as well. That's all.
So you scored the same as Hour of the Wall.
Oof, if I had known that, I would have got 9.25, but it's fine.
And you also scored Winter Light with a 9.
If nothing, I'm consistent.
Is the Bergman score a 9?
I think I fucked up with giving L'Avventura a 10. There's no space between 1 and 10.
No, I mean, I think it is also like how we feel that day when we watch those movies, you know? Because L'Avventura is like, if I were, and I'm not inviting to this, but if I were to rewatch L'Avventura, I think that my score would change.
Yeah.
I'm not rewatching. I'm not saying that we should rewatch it. But, yeah, so as this was a pick, I think that I have to pick what we're watching next.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, we already discussed this. Don't have like that surprise face. But we discussed this before. We have messed up about like who was picking what as like this last one with Persona, and I gave like the freebie to like about like just choose what you think that it would be interesting, and he picked the Cannes winner.
The Palme 2023 Palme, or was it last year? Anyway, most recent Palme d'Or winner, Anatomy of a Fall.
And I wonder if it's going to be better or worse than last year's. Triangle of Sadness.
Which one?
Triangle of Sadness?
I had forgotten. Good times.
Okay. I mean, for me, you know that I like Ruben.
No, we like that guy.
Yeah, Ruben Gosling. Yeah. But yeah, no, looking forward. And it's actually on the cinemas, so it's a good pick. Yeah. Cool.
And you get to go back to Music Box Theater.
And
I get to go to AMC with Nicole Kidman.
Nicole Kidman, but that's what you get for an AMC artisan film.
That's right.
Because I assume that it's an AMC artisan film. But yeah, anything else to say about Persona?
No, just thanks for letting me pick that.
When they actually sent the list of the movies, I just felt like, hey, I'm going to be like picking. My first pick is definitely In the Mood for Love. My second pick would be like whatever would make an interesting conversation.
And honestly, having seen the 3 films you've seen, you're now prepared for any conversation about Ingmar Bergman. Most people have only seen Persona, and you've seen a couple more obscure ones, so you're like, yeah, I got it.
I like that it's a bit more about like, hey, I just earn my badge.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you are like just entitled me, bestowing on me.
But
Like
I mean, that's literally what college is. You're like, you need to study these 3 artists just a little bit so you can talk intelligently and you have a well-rounded understanding. Maybe you don't dive into every artist, but you need to know the basics about each of them. That's what we're doing.
Okay, that's okay, I guess. Oh yeah. The other, there were only like 4 4 candidates. It was like In the Mood for Love, Persona, Singing in the Rain, and Close Up.
Oh, I mean, I would put Singing in the Rain above. Wait, Close Up? I thought you said
Close
Blow
Up,
Up.
not Blow Up, Close Up. I don't know if you know her, but it's
don't
like a
know.
movie from 1990, Iranian.
No.
we
Unless
should
you
watch
had me
that.
watch it,
You don't watch any Iranian films.
No. Middle Eastern film is one of my knowledge gaps. That's why it's just I don't watch a ton of Middle Eastern films. Not because I don't like them, I just haven't.
Maybe we should watch
Oh, it's
it.
in Persian and Azerbaijani, and I speak a little Azerbaijani
Oh, you
because
do?
I lived there.
Oh, no, that's true. Yeah. But yeah. Anything else about Persona?
That's it. I'm done.
Okay, you're done. You're done with Bergman. Please just tell me that you're done with Bergman.
I'm done for now.
I would treasure that and done. That's where my brain disconnected. And to all of that audience out there, thank you so much for putting up with us. And
And get your new COVID shot.
it's better than just washing your hands, you know? At that point, you can start
Nobody's
making...
washing their hands anymore. Nobody.
Okay, bye.